Well, welcome to this week's newsletter. So as you can see, this is week 13. We're coming up on the last week before the end of session. Today happens to be April 10th that we're recording this, the first day of Passover. We will be here on day 90. Day 90 is Easter Sunday, and we will be working. So the Senate has been focused on our three elements of the Senate solution. So that being reductions, reform, and revenue. So that's been our guiding principle during the whole session. We do have reductions. You'll see that in the newsletter, somewhere a little north of $250 million reduced in this year's budget. We have some reforms. We have innovation proposals for education, the largest part of our state's budget, operating budget. And we have revenue. Using more smartly the financial resources of the earnings reserve account from the permanent fund, which was set aside, oil revenues over the years. Many folks have asked me, it's all well and good to hear about the bills, but how did you vote on them? So you'll see that at the very beginning of this newsletter, the various bills that have passed the Senate and what my vote was on those bills. If you have any questions about the content of those bills, please let me know. We can send you links. You can actually read the bills. Vast majority of those bills, you'll see the letters SB in front of them. That means that after the Senate has passed them, they're now over in the House for consideration. Any of the bills that say HB in front of them mean that they're a House bill that came to us, and we have voted on them. They may have had to go back to the House to reconsider again, or maybe they are actually ready to sign into law. It varies, so just feel free to ask questions. So the operating budget has been passed by the Senate. It's gone back over to the House because the Senate version does incorporate budget cuts. So now the House has to think about that again, and we'll be talking about that and debating those issues. We do have multiple education bills out there looking at better ways to fund education. It is a constitutional mandate to provide education. So one of the things I'm hearing a lot about is the plan we have to repurpose the Alaska Performance Scholarship. This was a scholarship that was offered. We passed it, I don't know, maybe about 3 years ago. It provides a scholarship for 3 levels of achievement in high school. So A students get a certain amount of scholarship, B students, C students. So one of the questions we had to ask, because this is a significant appropriation of money, $48 million, actually almost $49 million, has gone to about 8,600 students in our state over the past, since 2012 when it was instituted. We want to know, are we seeing results from this? And so you'll see information about that in this newsletter and some of the reasons that we are considering repurposing that money. We know that students that are going to the university, about 52% of our high school graduates going to the University of Alaska need remedial courses. That means they're not ready for college yet. And yet, many of these students are recipients of the Alaska Performance Scholarship. So one of the things we also recognize is that reading competency in 3rd grade is not good. It's quite low. About 35% of our 3rd graders can read at grade level. That's huge, a huge problem. Because as one woman who called in from Bethel said, if you can read, you can achieve anything. You can learn anything. And she said it exactly right. So driving that money from that scholarship program back down into elementary education and bolstering our ability to teach kids how to read it's important. And one of the priorities. The other thing I hear a lot about is the criminal justice reform bill that was passed last year. I was a no on Senate Bill 91 for multiple reasons, one of which was the sex trafficking provisions in it. We have passed revised revision, a new crime bill that corrects that error, tightens up those definitions of sex trafficking, as well as other penalties, particularly for theft. So read about that in the newsletter also. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll be sending out more frequent email newsletters as we get closer to the end of session. Things will begin to happen more often, and so we want to keep you informed. Thanks very much.